All right, so we have 3 games on tonight. They're all done, and I would have had this review done much, much earlier had I been at home. But of course, we know I'm not. We know I'm on holiday, and we spent approximately 14 hours outside of the hotel room today. We spent a lot of time in Disney. We spent some time then in California Adventure as well. So we got in as much as we could. No, we did not get into the Rise of the Resistance today. We were queued up as Group 102. They only got to 96 and then they stopped. So at least they didn't get to 101. That's the way I look at it. At least we weren't close. And when I look at the overall numbers, it looks like it is an insane number of people who get through that ride every day. It is insane. So there may be some people in California that aren't happy about all of the extra traffic in Disneyland with the new Star Wars Adventure, but Disneyland's making a lot of money. There's a lot of people who are going into that park during the week that likely wouldn't be. I mean, Thursday's supposed to be the dead day, and it really wasn't. It was really busy this morning, but a lot of that is probably people who want to get onto that Star Wars ride, who get in, they make sure that they're in the queue, they get their group, and then you could leave if you want, and the app will tell you whether or not your group's up, and so that may very well be what's going on, and I get it, but it is crazy, middle of the week crazy. Can't imagine how rough it must be on weekends. So that being said, tonight Montreal went in and played Buffalo. Buffalo Sabres, it's pretty much done now, and I hate to say it because I wanted to see the Buffalo story end differently, but I don't see how they make the playoffs. I just don't. Tonight's loss to Montreal is just another one, and now they're losing at home. They lost against Ottawa. Now they lose against Montreal. They don't get a point in this one. It continues to spiral for them. So in the first period, Jack Eichel scores his 30th. So the good news is Eichel gets to 30 goals. It looks like he should hit 40, no problem. He could hit 45. He may get close to 50 if he gets on a bit of a run here. But that's 30 goals for Eichel, Dahlin, and Johansson with the assists. It's 1-0 Buffalo after one. So, they're leading in shots, they're leading on the scoreboard, everything looks good, and then the second period happens. Starts with Kovalchuk, his 8th of the year from Suzuki and Armia. So Nick Suzuki quietly having an excellent rookie year, and that continued tonight. And for Kovalchuk, he continues to put up points with Montreal. I wouldn't move him personally if I was Mark Bergevin. I'd be trying to talk him into sticking around maybe next year for discounted price. But I could understand if they do shop him around and see what they can get for him. Because still, even with this result tonight, the odds of Montreal making the playoffs are pretty slim. Gallagher would score his 16th from Tatar and Dano before the end of the second period. So it's 2-1 for the Montreal Canadiens. And you can cue another disappointing result for the Buffalo Sabres. And Carey Price, when tested, again, is back to being Carey Price. And they didn't have Ullmark at the other end. But that being said, Hutton's numbers tonight are pretty solid. Because that goal in the third period, Tatar gets his 18th from Suzuki and Armia, and that's an empty netter. So it was 2-1, 3-1 with the empty netter. And for the Buffalo Sabres, it is just another one of those losses. The fall from grace that they had last year, it's felt like it was delayed more this year than last year, but it looks like it still happened just the same. So we'll see what happens with Buffalo from here. Price saved 20 out of 21. Hutton saved 27 out of 29 power plays. The Montreal Canadiens 0 for 1. Buffalo was 1 for 3. Eichel's goal was a power play goal, and that's the only goal they managed, so they didn't get anything 5-on-5. Your 3 stars are Gallagher, Kovalchuk, and Suzuki. Your shots, 11-8 Buffalo in the first, 14-3 Montreal in the second, and then 8-7 in favor of Montreal in the third. Final shots 30-21 in favor of the Habs, and only generating 10 shots at home over the last 2 periods against Montreal. That's also not a way to get the home crowd excited about what's going to happen the rest of the season for Montreal. For Buffalo. Sorry, it's been a long year for both teams, but Buffalo's season gets a little bit longer with the injury to Ullmark, and the downturn in their scoring continues. So we'll see what happens with Buffalo going forward, but this is a not great result, especially after the Ottawa game. It just feels like it keeps compounding on itself. Next up, Nashville. Nashville loves playing against East Coast teams, don't they? And Nashville tonight with this result They pull themselves within 2 points of a playoff spot. And not only that, but they have a game in hand on Vegas, who are currently the number 2 wild card. And they have one more regulation win than does Vegas. So that's a tiebreaker in favor of Nashville. Don't look now. The Nashville Predators are in contention for a playoff spot. That turnaround that we thought might happen has started. So in the first period, Ekholm scores a 6 from Tenorti and Duchesne. And I want to pause as well and say Jared Tenorti putting up some points and getting a chance to play at the NHL level. I'm glad, because Jared Tenorti, when he was drafted, was seen as a physical defenseman, likely top 6, might have had top 4 potential, and then he bombed out after that. Whether it was bad penalties, whether it was skating, whether it was whatever reason teams had for dumping him off, he got dumped off. And now here he is in Nashville getting a chance, and he's putting up some points, and he's playing some games. So I'm glad to see Tenorti in there, because, of course, I was a huge fan of Mark Tenorti, and let's just hope that I don't make that mistake too many times where I say Mark Tenorti got an assist, because it's not Mark. Now, Zaka would score his 4th from Hischier and Vatanen before the end of the first period, so it's 1-1 after 1. Or no, that was a shorthanded goal. I'm just looking at the header. Shorthanded goal, that made it 1-1. And then Forsberg scored for Nashville from Turris and Arvidsson. That's Forsberg's 17th. That makes it 2-1. Now we go into the second period. In the second period, Gusev scores his... nope, not yet. Zaka scores first. That's his 5th from Gusev. That's a power play goal. And then it's Gusev also on the power play. That's his 9th from Zaka and Severson. And again, Gusev's one of those guys that we'll see whether or not New Jersey decides, all right, well, we've got to keep Gusev, or does anybody want to maybe bid on Gusev, and we'll see what we can get. Because, again, it's been just a horrible season overall for the New Jersey Devils. So they were ahead. And then Bonino scores his 15th from Smith and Grimaldi. So Bonino still, on pace for 20 goals. Pretty good year for him. And then Jesper Bratt scores his 9th from Palmieri and Butcher. And that gives New Jersey an excellent chance to win this one. So what happens? Well, the third period happens. So in the third period is Duchesne with his 11th from Yossi and Johansson. Hayden then scores his 2nd for New Jersey to restore the lead. And Rooney gets an assist on that one. But Forsberg ties it up. That's his 18th. That's on the power play from Yossi and Turris. And that forces overtime. Overtime solves nothing. Although Nashville did its best in the overtime by forcing the play and getting 7 shots in the overtime. But we go to a shootout. And in the shootout, Nashville will not be denied. Forsberg and Duchesne get goals in the overtime, or in the shootout. So Matt Duchesne earned his paycheck tonight. Good job. 3 stars are Zaka, Duchesne's star number 2, and Gusev's number 3. So the Nashville Predators get a very important 2 points, pull themselves within 2 points of the Vegas Golden Knights and within 3 points of the Arizona Coyotes. So Nashville is making sure that things are going to get really, really interesting in the West. And for New Jersey, they pick up a point, so they're not making the playoffs. Shots were 8 apiece in the first period, 14-6 in the second for the New Jersey Devils, 9-7 for Nashville in the third, 7-3 Nashville in the overtime. So final shots are 32-30 for the New Jersey Devils. Rene saved 27 out of 32. He gets the win. Blackwood saves 25 out of 30. He gets the shootout loss. Power plays 1 for 3 for Nashville, 2 for 3 for the New Jersey Devils, a team that has had a down power play, but tonight, not so down. Ends up 66.7% tonight. So good on them, and we'll see if Nashville can continue their solid run. It's been insane. The Nashville Predators appear to be waking up coming out of the All-Star break, and somebody in the West could very well miss the playoffs as a result of their turnaround. And then when you factor in that Chicago had been playing well going into the break, maybe the Central will get 5 spots in that Western Conference All-Star or Western Conference playoffs after the All-Star break's all done and we get to the end of the season. Maybe all that complaining about who's in and who's out in the West and who's out in the East will all settle down. Usually it does. Usually. Kind of. Last game of the night, LA against Arizona. I was not, and I put right on the board, I wasn't there. I didn't watch what happened tonight to Arizona in person. I had nothing to do with it. The assertion being that when I watched them lose in Vancouver. Yeah, I was there. I watched them lose in Anaheim last night. Yeah, I was there. I had nothing to do with this one tonight against LA. This is on the Coyotes. First period, Iafallo scores his 12th from Hutton and Brown. Now, I will say this. Iafallo is probably my favorite member of the Kings. And Hutton, former Canuck, nice to see him on the board. And it's 1-0 LA after one. But in the second, this is where Arizona gets it back. Because they have to, right? They desperately need these points. Schmaltz would score his 8th from Demers and Soderberg. And then Dvorak scores his 14th from Hall and Garland. So there's Taylor Hall on the board, Garland on the board, and Dvorak with his 14th. It's 2-1 Arizona after two. All they have to do, just have a good third period, and they're good. Nope. In the third period, Iafallo scores on the power play. That's his 13th from Kempe and Kopitar, and that forces overtime. Early in the overtime, I think it was 24 seconds, Iafallo. Yep, that's his first career hat trick. He scores his 14th of the year from Kopitar and Walker. And what do you know? In overtime, the LA Kings win in Arizona. Now, the Kings, a team that do not win on the road, a team that has struggled to score throughout the year. And tonight they scored 3, and they won on the road. So Arizona's got some wounds coming out of these last couple of games because these are games they needed to win. Keep in mind Arizona, who've been first at points over the last couple of months, they are not that far removed from being out of the playoffs. They are now 3 points ahead of that playoff line, and they don't have games in hand on anybody, so they're going to need some help. And again, I wasn't there. Keep that in mind. Campbell saved 26 out of 28 in the victory. Aiden Hill saved 34 out of 37 in the loss. Power plays 1 for 1 for the Kings, 0 for 2 for the Arizona Coyotes, and 3 stars are Iafallo, Campbell, and Schmaltz. So Nick Schmaltz on the board there is the 3rd star, but Jack Campbell kind of steals the show in net, and Iafallo with a hat trick has to be star number 1. And your shots, 12 apiece in the first, 13-8 Arizona in the second, 16-3 for LA in the third. You can't generate 3 shots at home to close out a game in the third period. Not if you want to make the playoffs. And in overtime, LA gets the 1 shot. It's the shot that matters. Your final shot's 37-28 in favor of the Los Angeles Kings. So, yeah, that's not a great result for Arizona, and we'll see if they can bounce back in their next game. That being said, this is my final review from here. I will have to do the preview tonight because we leave very early in the morning. And so there's a lot of work to be done in the morning to get everybody together, get everything packed and out of here. And so I need to do the preview tonight. That being said, let me know your thoughts regarding tonight's game in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through you just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.